Look at the furthest edges of the observable universe, and the questions eventually stop being about what is out there and start being about how any of it got there in the first place. For decades, theoretical physicists have been searching for a single, unifying framework, often called the God equation. The goal is to tie all physical laws together to explain the exact origin of reality, but the math consistently hits a wall. Prominent researchers, like Dr. Michio Kaku, point to string theory as the most mathematically consistent candidate. Yet these models remain entirely constrained by four-dimensional spacetime and the behavior of physical matter. This suggests that a complete picture of the universe's formation involves dimensions beyond the physical, integrating the mental and spiritual frameworks into the calculation. The Big Bang is widely treated as the absolute beginning of time and space. The thermodynamics, however, indicate it was a secondary reaction, a physical explosion triggered by a pre-existing metaphysical state. Mahesh Man Shrestha identifies cosmic consciousness as the fundamental building block of the universe, a form of pure, dormant cosmic energy that precedes physical particles. This premise mirrors the frameworks outlined in ancient spiritual sciences and by modern mystics like Osho Rajneesh, who maintained that this formless subjectivity is the only constant across cosmic dissolution. Every planet, star, and biological organism is essentially a localized, highly dense precipitation of this underlying spiritual energy. To trace exactly how a universe of solid matter emerges from a void of pure consciousness, we have to map the specific mechanical engine that drives this transition. In its baseline, unactivated state, this pure potential energy is called Nirgun Brahm. It exists entirely at rest, devoid of time, shape, or awareness of itself. We can observe a physical analog to this state in extreme thermodynamics. When matter is cooled to absolute zero, minus 273 degrees Celsius, entropy decreases until the energy state drops nearly to zero. We see conditions approaching this limit in deep space structures, like the Boomerang Nebula, currently the coldest known object in the cosmos. At this absolute thermodynamic limit, individual particles lose their distinct characteristics. Their shape, charge, and polarization dissolve. The entire mass behaves as a single attributeless entity known as a superatom. In this zero energy state, the underlying cosmic consciousness remains completely dormant. It is an infinite ocean of potential, entirely frozen. The physical universe cannot exist while this perfect stillness holds. Creation only initiates when a specific, localized disturbance, a casual condition, forces this frozen potential out of equilibrium. That disturbance occurs when a concentrated fragment of this consciousness, referred to as an omega point, strikes the dormant baseline, causing it to suddenly become self-aware. This disruption immediately activates a parallel unseen framework known as Sagun Brahm. It is the active operating system of the cosmos. This parallel universe operates entirely on the interaction of three distinct subtle wave forces: the sentient, the mutative, and the static. The geometry of these three interacting forces directly maps onto the theories of the visionary electrical engineer Nikola Tesla. Tesla maintained that the numbers 3, 6, and 9 formed the structural architecture of the universe. In this metaphysical framework, does digital roots correspond to the triangle of forces: the static at 3, the mutative at 6, and the sentient at 9. When arranged together, this 3-6-9 triangle functions as a geometric flux field. It acts as a structural vector, taking energy from higher immaterial dimensions and channeling it toward a physical state. Long before the first hydrogen atom formed, this mathematically precise, golden engine was spinning, establishing the exact parameters and laws that govern all physical manifestation.
But an abstract geometric concept cannot inherently possess gravity or occupy space. The mechanism requires a way to cross the boundary from pure thought into tangible mass. The bridge between the psychic dimension and the physical world is a microscopic, life-injecting entity called microvitum. As the 3-6-9 triangle spins, the internal friction between its sentient and mutative forces begins to generate and eject thousands of these subtler, living entities into the void. Microvitum functions as the raw, living software of the universe, existing more as an idea than as matter. It operates beyond normal spacetime while carrying the blueprint for physical structures. It takes the organized grouping of billions of these microscopic entities to construct the specific assembly instructions required to produce a single stable carbon atom. Without microvetum acting as the translational software between the spiritual and physical domains, cosmic consciousness would remain trapped as invisible, unexpressed potential. As the engine continues to operate, the static force, representing the number 3, begins to dominate. This exerts immense pressure on the microvetum, causing extreme cosmic friction. The pressure builds until it triggers a massive physical rupture, known as nada, or the Big Bang. This explosion is the direct physical exhaust of the metaphysical friction. In the immediate aftermath, the intense static energy steps down into its first physical manifestation, the ethereal element, filling the rapidly expanding space. As the universe continues to expand, the energy cools and densifies further. It condenses into the aerial element, forming turbulent cosmic winds, which then ignite into the luminous element of heat, plasma, and early starlight. The cooling accelerates, precipitating the liquid element, until finally the remaining energy coalesces into the solid element, forging the dense rock of heavy celestial bodies and planetary crusts. Every piece of solid matter in existence is the crudest, most frozen physical manifestation of that original immaterial cosmic consciousness. This exact sequence of precipitation scales down from the formation of superclusters to the biological evolution of the human body. The human biological machine processes energy through a 7-node plexus, or chakra system, which acts as a miniaturized replica of the macrocosmic engine. The first 5 chakras, anchored along the spinal cord, correspond sequentially to the exact physical elements generated after the Big Bang: ether, air, fire, water, and earth. The identical, sentient, mutative, and static forces that drive the Sagun Brahm are actively regulating the hormonal secretions and neural synchronicity of the human nervous system. The structural architecture of the human mind and body is mathematically and energetically identical to the expanding physical universe. On the macro scale, our physical universe is currently in an active phase of rapid outward expansion. This acceleration is driven by a homogeneously distributed force known as black energy. It exerts a massive anti-gravity repulsion that pushes galaxy clusters further away from each other without diluting over space or time. The thermodynamics of the system dictate that this expansion cannot continue indefinitely. Eventually, it will hit a mechanical limit, triggering an inevitable process of de-evolution. The scattered physical elements will steadily lose their thermal energy, cooling back down toward absolute zero, and collapsing the vast complexity of matter back into a dense, unmoving superatom. At that absolute limit, physical reality loses its shape and dimensions, merging seamlessly back into the pure, attributeless stillness of cosmic consciousness. Creation exists as an eternal, cyclical 369 engine of consciousness, constantly using the mechanics of geometry and mass to explore the boundaries of itself.
If you enjoyed this video, please give a like and subscribe. Today's video was brought to you by Cinestec Systems LLC and founder Shane Persinger.